Dear students, let us begin with the third part of the lesson on climate change and the rise in sea levels, in which we will discuss about migration, India's concern over mitigating GHG's emissions, and India and solar energy. Let us discuss about migration. It is expected that there will be a large scale migration from coastal zones due to rise of sea levels, which will lead to submergence of coastlines. This will create large number of environmental refugees who are living in low-lying areas. Furthermore, there would be reduced agricultural and fishing incomes due to intrusion of seawater in the groundwater and changes in temperature. People who are depending on coastal areas for fishery and agriculture will be adversely affected. Evacuation is not easily implemented because of the reluctance of governments to order mandatory evacuations and the unwillingness of residents to leave their property unprotected. If a 1 meter sea level rise were to take place today, it would displace 7 million persons in India. Mumbai is the 10th largest city in the world and the economic capital of India with 12 million inhabitants. It was estimated that the cost of a 1 meter sea level rise to Mumbai stands at 71 billion US dollars, indicative of the huge economic cost of climate change faced by Asia's coastal city. It would be difficult to see the growth of a country if major cities are affected due to rise of sea levels. The coastal village of Satabahia in Orissa's Kendrapar district 30 years ago was a 2-kilometer walk from the sea. Due to rise in sea levels in the Bay of Bengal, it is now 1 kilometer inside the sea. The rise of sea level is also bound to complicate maritime boundary disputes. Boundaries are determined by baseline or low water mark. Any shift in baseline points would alter boundaries significantly and become a source of contention. Submergence of small atolls, rocks, and low-lying islands could have implications for maritime claims. India shares maritime borders with all littoral countries of South Asia, Indonesia, Thailand, and Myanmar. India has signed 9 bilateral and 3 trilateral agreements to date. India has demarcated boundaries with Maldives, Sri Lanka, Myanmar, Thailand, Indonesia, and Bangladesh. UNCLOS 3 was ratified and came into force on 16 November 1994. It provides for a littoral state or island state to have 200 nautical miles of exclusive economic zone, in which the state has the exclusive right to explore and exploit the resources available. Let us discuss about India's concern over mitigating GHG's emissions. India is making significant progress in limiting GHG's emissions through initiatives such as improving the efficiency of the energy and industrial production capacity. India emphasizes the need to balance environmental goals with its development imperative. The country aims to lift millions out of poverty and improve living standards while addressing GHG's emissions. Additionally, India is focusing on energy development, both conventional and renewable, with the goal of enhancing environmental quality and reducing human health hazards caused by air pollution. India has installed 174.53 gigawatts of generating capacity based on various renewable sources, which accounts for about 42.5% of the country's total capacity as of February 2023. Deforestation is being arrested and the vast potential of afforestation on wasteland is being increasingly utilized. It is seen that savings in GHG emissions by the poor should not be expected at the expense of development. India emphasizes that on an individual basis, its greenhouse gas emissions per person are lower than those of many developed countries. India contends that considering historical responsibility, it is essential for developed nations to lead the way in reducing emissions. India's approach is rooted in the principles of equity and climate justice. It advocates for fair burden sharing and support for vulnerable and developing nations. Agriculture is a significant source of emissions in India. The country is working on sustainable agriculture practices to reduce emissions and enhance food security. India is a global leader in renewable energy adoption. It has set ambitious targets for expanding solar and wind power capacity and demonstrating its commitment to clean energy. India promotes the development and adoption of affordable clean technologies that can benefit both the environment and the economy. India, as the third largest emitter of carbon dioxide in the world, is committed to reduce the emissions intensity. India formally ratified the historic Paris Agreement on 2nd October 2016, which is aimed at reducing the global temperature by controlling greenhouse gas emissions. India also endorsed the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change in 1993 and the Kyoto Protocol in 2002. The Government of India has adopted a national action plan on climate change as well as a national mission for Green India to address the climate change issues. In November 2021, in COP26 at Glasgow, India has promised to reduce its emissions to net zero by 2070. India is also strongly committed to the 2030 agenda, including the Sustainable Development Goals, which succeeded Millennium Development Goals. The short titles of the 17 SDGs are No Poverty, Zero Hunger, Good Health and Well-being, Quality Education, Gender Equality, Clean Water and Sanitation, Affordable and Clean Energy, Decent Work and Economic Growth, Industry, Innovation and Infrastructure, Reduced Inequalities, Sustainable Cities and Communities, Responsible Consumption and Production, Climate Action, Life Below Water, Life on Land, Peace, Justice and Strong Institutions and Partnerships for the Goals. India's National Development Goals and its Sabka Saath Sabka Vikas, which means development with all and for all, policy initiatives for inclusive development is also well aligned with the SDGs. Let us discuss about India and solar energy. During the 2020 Independence Day celebration, Indian Prime Minister announced to construct a transnational electricity grid that would supply electricity across the world to take forward the global goal of sustainable development. India has set ambitious targets to expand its solar energy capacity. It aims to achieve 100 gigawatts of solar power capacity by 2022 and 450 gigawatts by 2030, demonstrating its commitment to large-scale solar adoption. Indian Ministry of New Renewable Energy plan to connect 140 countries through a common grid that will be used as a channel for transfer of solar power. India's solar energy capacity is at 41.09 gigawatts. Ernst & Young announced that India was ranked third in the Renewable Energy Country Attractive Index in 2021. India is implementing a wide range of solar projects, including utility-scale solar farms, rooftop solar installations and off-grid solar solutions in remote areas, catering to diverse energy needs. India has also initiated floating solar projects on water bodies such as reservoirs and dams to optimize land use and generate clean energy. India's investment in domestic solar panel and component production not only fosters self-reliance but also aligns with the Make in India campaign, promoting indigenous manufacturing of solar technologies. Let us summarize what we have discussed so far in this lesson. Climate change poses various challenges for India. It does not want any constraint on its development prospects. It seeks to be recognized as an emerging global power. On the other hand, it has become an obligation to concentrate on mitigating its emissions of carbon dioxide. India's energy security is linked to its growth and poverty eradication efforts. The demand for energy consumption is likely to increase. It is largely dependent on coal to meet its energy needs, which produces more carbon dioxide. Economic growth is the major cause of rising emissions. There would be a major reorientation of its energy strategy if India has to reduce its carbon emissions, a shift from their current coal based to other energy systems. It is to be noted that India can reduce its contribution to climate change if it concentrates more on non-fossil sources. Further, India has to focus on energy efficiency, clean energy, prevention of air pollution, afforestation and wasteland development, population reduction. I hope you understood what we discussed about climate change and the rise in sea levels. We have concluded our lesson. Thank you.